Why greed is so destructive. Looking at this from a non-dual perspective. One of the things we can probably all agree about, this feeling reality of greed is that it's usually unexamined. And almost anything that's unexamined is going to, in the end, be destructive. But it's particularly destructive these days because we have been taught from the day that we're born to live in a constant state of greed. And this, I'm talking about the low-level, constant desire for things that we all have. I mean, another word for greed that we have for it is consumerism, right? And we can agree that we have been conditioned to see everything in life as something that we consume, and that this is destructive. This is really the thing that's causing the destruction to the whole planet is our mass consumption. And really right there is the answer to why is greed so destructive. It's because human beings are really good at getting what we want. And wanting has no end. You get the thing that you want and boom, you immediately want another thing. All marketing is based on this. And since we have reached this point where very few of the things that we own or have are things that we've made ourselves, we have to consume to get them. I mean, we literally have to consume to live the way our society is put together. It's really, really hard to grow all your own food, and you need food in order to live. I can tell you this because back in my 20s, I tried to do it. I tried to grow and make everything that I needed. And when you live in a society that is just so consumed with this marketing and consumerism, even that's destructive because human beings were never built to live that way. We always lived in communities where together we helped provide things for each other. So trying to do it all on your own isn't possible. And of course, you all know, maybe you were there, about all the days of the hippie communes where we all tried to get together and do it together. And that turned out to be really destructive too, because even our motivation for doing it was based on greed, this low level wanting of things that we don't have. Everybody had their own ideal that we were trying to live up to, and all of our attempts to do that just fell apart. And it kind of still does it now. So one of the reasons that greed is so destructive is because every one of us tries to believe that we don't have it. It's like greed is something all those other people are doing. So it's really good to get in touch with just this low level, constant need that we all have inside. And of course, this is based on reality and nature. I mean, we all need to eat. We all need clothes. We all need housing. Do we really need that new little gadget that was just announced on Facebook? I mean, yeah. I mean, it looks like it's going to solve every problem in your whole life. So the biggest problem with it is that it's unexamined. And then the big problem with it is the fact that we are so good at getting the things that we want. And we are so good at marketing it. And so all of these things lead towards destruction if it's unexamined. So it's really good. So this brings in non-duality, This is what we're doing with non-duality, is like we're really examining ourselves and what is it like to be a human being, and who am I as I interact with all the things of life. Who am I? Hopefully, your non-duality practices will let you realize that you really exist as your embodied being that you are and have been ever since you were born. I see many people in the non-duality world who seem to take non-duality teachings to mean that they don't exist. Imagine how destructive that idea is, that you don't really exist, that reality, everything's an illusion, it kind of doesn't really matter. How destructive that is when you mix it in with greed, right? Because now there you are, you're a consuming being. You're consuming things because we have to consume things in order to live in our world. Our world is based on consumption. But here you are believing that you don't actually exist, that this world of reality is just an illusion in your head. So now you've taken this base, unexamined reality of the greed that we all have, the constant want that we all have, and you've intermixed it with an illusory fantasy of like nihilism, right? So this is an important discussion to have in any sort of non-duality circles or studies. How do these things intertwine with us as the real human being that we are? This is why self-examination is so powerful. Because now imagine that I was just a preacher and I'm teaching out of a book and I'm saying you're greedy and greedy is bad, and if you stay greedy you're going to hell, or whatever version of whatever that spirituality teaches. It's just as bad in the create your own reality groups, because they're teaching that your greed is good and you should use it to get all the things that you want and need. And if you don't have all the things that you want, there's something intricately wrong with you. And the other spiritual people are like, if you're greedy at all, you're going to hell. And so with all of these kind of this rhetoric, this dogma, we're taught to be afraid to look at ourselves, honestly. And this is the power of non-duality, that if you can just go, whoo, step back from the craziness of my conditionings and look for the real, who am I underneath it? Then you've kind of got a separation between the real you and the things that you've been taught. And now you're able to examine them kind of on a plane of reality and with some humor, right? I mean, gosh, constantly, we're shown shiny things, beautiful things, wonderful things that we want. It's so easy to just examine yourself as these things happen. I mean, you can do some really practical things too, like, do you really need that? What is the impact of you getting that on everyone else? Because non-duality means we're all in this together, right? And then the most interesting thing is to watch. There's lots of things that you actually need. Say you go get that thing. What happens next? You enjoy it, and boom, pew, you instantly need a new thing. It's just reality. There's nothing good or bad about it. It's reality. The bad thing about it is when all of us are just blindly falling towards consumption. As long as we're doing that, we have no hope of fixing the issues and the problems that are going on in the world today. But the second we start seeing ourselves honestly through the filter of reality, what is a human being? How am I in this world? I exist. I'm real. The world exists. The world's real. How does everything intertwine together? And how do the things that we want and need interact with each other? It turns from stress to curiosity. It's like, oh, look at how all these things fit together and how I'm this integral part inside of all of it. And hopefully you can feel how that just makes a huge relaxation come over your being. I am a human being. Human being. Relaxation comes over your being. I'm a human being. We're together. We're together, human beings. We're together with the trees and the rocks and the air and the earth. It's all together. How curious to be able to see it and understand it. So you can have that exact same relationship with your greed. It's like, oh, look how that interplays with things. Look how greed interplays with your stress. You know, our doing, too busy. What's causing that, right? Trying to get all the things that we want. Trying to be everything for everybody. Relax into our being. This is what non-dual studies are really about, because with the ideas of non-duality, that you are not your mind, you are not your emotions, you're something else, something real and dynamic. Without the attachment to those things, you're able to be yourself in a field of humor and connection. So look at how silly we are. Look at the things we do. Look how wonderful it is to be alive and to be us. That's non-duality.